Hello, everybody. We are live. Episode 2 inside the Daniel Holtzclaw case. I am joined by Kate again. Kate, how are you?
I'm well.
Walk us through, and hello to the chat. I am working on a new headset, so bear with me. Hello, RJ. Hello, JD. Hello, Yui. Hello, Appleby. Johnny D. and Arcus. Everyone's just flowing in right now. This is awesome. This is great. Um, Walk us through what you thought, Kate, of last week's episode.
First of all, I was super stressed out when we started because that was the first video I've ever done talking about the case. So there's that. But then the time went super fast, I felt like.
It definitely did go fast. I mean, that's the thing. Like, the frustrating part is not touching upon everything, and it's kind of impossible to touch. It's kind of impossible to touch upon everything there is to talk about. We have a. I kind of want to ask about what interaction, if any, did you have with Daniel throughout the week or after the show? Is he aware of the show? What kind of interaction, if you don't mind, letting everyone know
Sure. Yeah,
his reaction.
yeah, he was aware of the show before it happened, and I had spoken with him last Monday morning, and then I also had a chat with him on Tuesday. So, we were able to talk about how it went, and just, I think he was really blown away by the amount of time that you put into it. Not only, what was it, a 2.5 hour show, but then a 2.5 hour, um,
After show.
what do you, panel?
Yeah,
What do
post
you
show.
call it?
Yeah, it's a post show.
Um,
Post show.
and he's always curious about how the comments are balanced because, well, you've seen some of the stuff that has, all the crude things, wishing his family death, and just the most horrible things anyone can say about someone. But I think he's really just hoping that this far in there is enough information that people should, with an open mind, would be able to see that, at the very least, he didn't get a fair trial. Um, and most people, when they look at what's out there, believe in his innocence. So I guess he's just hoping that he gets a bigger crowd of supporters.
I kind of want to show everybody a little inside peek into Daniel, if that's okay with you. Um, this is Daniel. No prior history. Daniel is not. Daniel is not in a single moment in his past that supports the assertion he's a racist or an abuser of women to any degree, sexual, physical, emotional, or otherwise. Investigators interviewed people Daniel had contact with while living in Oklahoma City and working for the Oklahoma City Police Department. When those interviews failed to produce any negative sentiments towards Daniel, they next went to his college town just outside of Detroit and then to his high school hometown of Enid, all with the singular purpose of finding someone, anyone who would cast his shadow over Daniel's character. Try as they might, not as they couldn't. Not a single ex-girlfriend, classmate, teammate, one-night stand, co-worker, not even an acquaintance. Nobody would say Daniel was anything but quiet, respectful, kind, focused on his girlfriend career and his physique. Prosecutors went as far as to send investigators to the gym where Daniel and his girlfriend worked out, specifically to try and prove he was cheating on her, a witch hunt that proved to be completely untrue. But as a common tactic of immoral prosecutors and investigators, you want to put pressure on the defendant. Where was this written at? I kind of want to credit the source of this piece. Are you aware this is what you sent me earlier today?
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think where that came from. If that was just off of a Facebook post from
Okay.
Jenny, his sister Jenny.
Okay. So from his sister, like Jenny. So kind of, walk me through what interaction you had with Daniel, if it's okay with you. I don't know. I don't think we touched upon it the first show, and we should have. Walk us through what interaction you had with Daniel prior to this case and after,
Mm.
if
Prior
you don't
to
mind.
this case, none. I didn't know Daniel. And like I said, I knew of his father, who um, is a lieutenant for a police department in Daniel's hometown. I didn't know him. I didn't know any of the family. So I guess about a year after his conviction, is when I decided to look at the interview, the 2 hour interview, and see if he was a good liar. And then I just started, I sent a message to his father and told his father my opinion and started asking for more information so I could dig into the case. Um, and then I joined a team of supporters that just going to rallies and doing fundraisers and just different things to bring awareness to the case and raise money because Daniel's dad spent his entire retirement fund financing the trial, the attorney fees for the trial. Um, so raising money, and then at some point, kind of after the family got to know me, then I asked if I could visit. So I have visited him in prison, like 5 or 6 times. And usually when I go, the visits are 6 hours, and I usually stay 2 or 3 days and do, 6 hours, 3 days in a row.
So, kind of walk me through what about that 2 hour interview with Daniel kind of swayed you and changed your mind about your opinion of this case?
Well, initially I kind of got hung up on the way he was answering things, and he was saying whatnot a lot. And so that was kind of bugging me as I was watching it. But I still felt like he was telling the truth. Then I just tried to figure out, like, give him the I tried to really put myself in his position and just kind of think about how would I feel? What would I be thinking? What would be going through my head if I were innocent?
Well,
And, so really, I guess by the end of the interview, when it's obvious that he realizes that, they're getting ready to strip him of his clothes. I guess no, really, when they started asking him about Terry Morris and piling on that second accuser, I was just watching him swim in that. But when she comes back in and she asks him, when she goes out and calls Carrie and then comes back in and says, well, you created more work for me because it seems like I just caught you in a lie. And so I'm going to go call Carrie again. And so then she comes back in and she says something like, she says you didn't have sex. And he says, yeah, we did have sex. I don't know. Maybe she was tired and she didn't remember. Um,
and that's a natural human error. Doesn't mean you're a serial rapist.
yeah.
And
But he says, yeah, Carrie, my girlfriend who was in my bed. You don't sleep with anyone else? And he's like, no, it's just Carrie. And it's
Right.
just his frustration with her.
Do you want me to
At
play that clip?
point, if you want to.
Do you know what? Let me kind of get some audio up. Fast forward a little bit.
And granted, you're not even.
Is this when she walks in the second time?
Play that a minute.
Okay, couple things.
We powwow and then we
All
meet
right.
you.
The gal was talking about that Terry Morris, the one, the other.
This is the
person.
one about Terry
Saying
Morris.
the same
Yeah, I
thing.
mean, that's going to be
So
closer
it was
to 10.
downtown. She was walking.
Now, do you want me to fast forward this part, or
Yeah.
you want me to play the Terry Morris part?
Oh, if you want to go ahead and play that, because we're getting ready to go through her.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so when I say stop, that's, you see
Right.
like a voluntary contact.
Right.
Okay. Here, think of a cross between this is one picture and this is her. She look familiar?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
Now you stopped her for sure and ran here
Okay.
on a different day. It was May 8th. Okay.
Okay.
You sure she doesn't look familiar at all? Now when you stopped her, over at the Liberty apartment area,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that's where you stopped her on May 8th.
Okay.
Okay. Now, does that ring a bell at all?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. All right. Now you ran her then. Okay. Now she says that you stopped her later on, like I say, later on in the month. And there's more kind of a downtown area. Does that ring a bell at all?
I don't recall any of those pictures. I don't recall any of that. I don't ever go downtown besides if I go to the gas station or county or.
Off-duty jobs. Where you work
I
off-duty?
don't have an off-duty. All I was courtesy officer at my apartment.
Okay. So besides the Bolero and
Maybe
county?
Viper here and there. Maybe
Okay.
that's within our
Were you?
on duty.
But you're running Viper out of Spring Lake.
At Spring Lake.
Okay, all right. You ever, with your car, you ever go visit anybody, any buddies, anything like that, or
No.
shopping, anything?
No.
Okay. Why would, and granted, you're not even recalling her on the May 8th,
Right.
okay? But I just wanted you to have a frame of mind of who's making these statements against you. And it's exact same thing too, Stop her, have her sit in the back seat, run for warrants, then you have her get her out,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Unzip the pants. I mean, on and on and on. We can go through.
I mean, it's
to a T.
it's
of
exactly
this
the
one.
same.
Yeah. I don't recall any of those people. I don't think I recognize those people.
Okay,
What if you
this is
could
the same
recall?
one. This is the same one. I'm just showing you a picture.
Of how she's changed.
Yeah, this has changed. Okay?
That's the same girl.
It's two different time periods, but she looks kind of in between. It's the same girl.
Okay.
Okay. Still nothing, even vaguely. She's always on the northeast side. 23rd and Kelly, 36. Kelly.
Uh,
All right. But she described you to a T.
Okay.
Okay. And like I said, it's everything. Everything.
Let me know when you want me to pause that.
You don't remember her even.
Yeah, you can go
forget
ahead and
what
pause
she's-
it if you want.
All right.
So, what I didn't realize is that they were developing Daniel as a suspect for Terry Morris, and I don't know kind of what was taking them so long and why they didn't even bring him in to question him. But in looking at police reports, and I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about, in looking at police reports, they found out that they knew that he pulled her over, or that he had contact with her on May 8th. And then the other officer who had contact with her was the officer Jeff Sellers, who he was suspended, but ended up getting his job back through arbitration. But he was having sex with prostitutes on duty. But
So,
why hadn't they brought him in to question him? I guess that was my deal. But before we leave this, if you want to skip back to, if you want to skip to the end where she's asking about Carrie, but I think we did that last week.
Yep.
Why not?
So you don't think 15 minutes was too long on that traffic stop?
No,
This is a questionable
And
before the
nothing
traffic stop.
sexual went on during that 15 minutes.
nothing sexual.
When you said you were going to follow her,
And this is when she
but
comes
she
back.
took too long. How long?
Very
918.
So this is when she's given the phone. So this is him giving the phone number to the girlfriend.
Yeah,
Correct?
she's gonna
Does
go
she work? Are
call.
we gonna, if we
She
call?
does work.
Does
She
she
works
work now?
normal 8 to 5 hours, Monday through Friday.
Where does she work?
At Crest and Oil.
What time was this at night?
Well, he came on shift at 4, and they immediately took him into the lieutenant's office, and then took photographs of him. And then he agreed to come downtown with Rocky and Kim. So I don't know if that's like a 15-minute drive or whatever. So they're probably pushing 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Well, it must be after 5 because when she calls Carrie right now, well, of course, how far into this interview? We're almost.
2 hours.
So at this point, Carrie's off work and she's at the gym.
Okay.
Memorial and MacArthur around there.
We're getting those tiebacks to go.
Don't call her.
Now, one of the negative things that I heard was, if knowing that he was convicted, one of the MOs of a convicted rapist is the ability to fool people. What's your response to that kind of comment that was said on the other side of the fence?
Do you see someone here that's crafty at fooling people? That's not what I saw when I watched it. Not even the first time. I saw a really naive guy. I don't see crafty.
Now he's waiting for. Now the phone call's going on as we speak.
You might skip forward because
Some lengthy discussion.
yeah. Well, I think on Bates, we were looking at Bates' video last time, and he cut that time out.
Here she comes.
You created some more work.
That's
Fixing to go. I just talked to Carrie.
Okay.
She said she was asleep when you got home and you did not try to have sex and you did not have sex.
They try to have sex.
She says you didn't. And I asked her, could you have been asleep? And you kind of, whoa, no. And she said no. You did not try to have
As
sex.
much as I don't want to involve her, I tried to have sex with her and she was asleep. Carrie goes to sleep pretty early. I'm 9, 10 at the late.
Okay, but she would know if you tried. I'm a woman.
I know.
And my husband comes home in the middle of the night and I'm like, are you kidding me? I've been asleep. You said you twirled around her vagina
I did.
and you put it in a little bit and then she said, I'm tired. No.
I did.
She would remember that to tell me.
Shoot. Maybe.
She said you did not try to have sex.
And it's more personal because it's Carrie, but I did try to have sex with Carrie. I did.
So was this like the first punch as far as putting any doubt or giving them a bone to chew on, so to speak, in your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really think she thinks that's anything. Seriously? I mean, I guess, I don't know. She doesn't know Holtzclaw. She doesn't know his demeanor. That's just like, the first time I watched this and judged him, you know, judged his behavior. You don't look at a guy that's a big monster guy like that and think that they would be shy or naive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my first impression when I looked at him. My first impression was, oh, here's a guy on steroids and he probably got rage and I've heard about this. What the heck? This is crazy.
I don't know what to say. I mean, because it just looks like I just caught you in a lie, and now I don't know what to believe.
I'm telling
I
you.
don't know what to believe
Okay.
because you tell me this, I go to verify it. She tells me the opposite, and now I'm wondering what you're telling the truth about.
Maybe because she doesn't know what the heck's going on.
No, she doesn't. I didn't tell her.
And I'm glad, but detectives calling her, any other officer asking her a question like that,
I know.
she's maybe scared. And I don't want to involve her, but
She's involved.
Press 1 in the chat if you have had any experience with Ambien, and if you want to describe your effects that you had with Ambien for the chat. It has been proven that she was on Ambien, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
that's
Because
my
you-
girlfriend. That's like,
You need her involved for you.
right.
But now she's given the story that you're not given.
I'm telling you, I tried to have sex with Carrie, my girlfriend.
She
Yeah,
is
that
going to
shit's-
remember your weenie twirling around her hoo-ha. You remember that. I'm sorry, I don't care how much of a sleeper you are. You remember because it pisses you off in the middle of the night and you go, are you serious? Don't bother me with that.
Maybe you should call her and ask her if she's a deep sleeper. Because there's multiple times I've tried to do that.
I want to highlight a point from the negative. Well, not the negative, the other side of the fence. I just asked that question about Ambien, and Great Lakes Crusader goes, yes, Ambien can erase your memory, but this small point doesn't mean he's innocent of rape and driven. Exactly. The point of what we're doing here is we're one point at a time. This is a baby steps of presenting all the evidence, presenting all the facts, and you the people watching this live, watching this recorded, you're the ones who are going to be able to decide what you think after all of the evidence is provided to you all. Let's keep going on this, and then we'll get to Terry Morris in just a few.
Most of the times we've had sex. Most of the times she has pushed me
Well,
off.
you told me that you have sex every day, and she says you did not have sex today.
We didn't have sex today. No. We didn't.
Well, you said you have sex every day.
Mostly every day, yes.
So if I call her back, is she going to tell me that you'll have
We
sex
did
every
not-
day?
We did not have sex, but recently, mostly all every day, yeah.
I'm a woman, and I know what it feels like to be woke up for sex, and I don't like that. And you remember it, and I don't believe you.
I'm telling you the truth, I'm sorry. I tried to have sex with my girlfriend. I did.
I don't know, you're a dude. Does your wife get
I could-
pissed off if you try to wake her up in the middle of the
She
night?
had white thong on and a t-shirt. And
Okay, you talk to him. I'm gonna go call her again.
Okay.
Because right now, I don't believe it.
Hey, the pants.
You want me to bring him in?
Yeah.
In a plastic bag?
Yeah.
I mean, a brown paper sack. Okay, don't start yet.
So is that the point there, or do you want me to
No,
keep
when
going a
she
little
comes back in and he's just incredulous about what she's asking him, that was the point that I was referring to.
bit? Alright, so you want me
before
to...
that.
Let's show the evidence thing, because I really think this part's important with the gentleman to the left. Can you kind of walk us through who the gentleman in the left is before we
Yeah, that's Detective Rocky Gregory, and he developed half of the women. Terry Morris was his victim. Um, so they don't usually they're not partners. Um, from what I can gather, Rocky doesn't have a partner throughout this case. In a lot of police reports, Lieutenant Timothy Musney was with him a lot for some reason. And when asked about that, somewhere I saw that Rocky said that, that was common if he had time. But Kim has a partner, Valerie Holman, and they work together. So Rocky only became a part of this because he had Terry Morris's case on his desk already from May 24th. And then this is June 18th. This is about 12 hours, 10 hours, whatever, after the after hours traffic stop. And so that's why those two detectives are together. Kim's representing Jamie Liggins, and Rocky's representing Terry Morris.
All right, so Rocky Gregory's about to enter the room.
The front of the line, okay?
Yeah,
I can tell you, it usually takes a long time, but because of the situation, we will put it at the front of the line, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, usually
Yeah,
all this stuff, we do whatever we can.
Here is shorts and a shirt. I don't know if the shirt will fit in the set. Before I call Carrie,
Shorts and a
you
shirt.
tried to have sex with Carrie,
I
not
tried to have
somebody
my
else.
girlfriend. Yes, that wasn't my bad. Yes.
Do you ever cheat on her?
No,
So it's only Carrie right now.
Carrie.
Okay.
All right, man. Pants in this bag and just put the. I think you're gonna need to, unless you want to keep the shirt on. I don't know. I don't know if this shirt's
Now,
gonna be
what's
big
really
enough for you.
important about like that freeze frame right there, if you want to point out?
Well, I mean, for me, in a minute, when he peels off some layers, you'll see how difficult it would be for him to whip his erect penis out through the unzipped fly of his pants. That's what's important here. But as far as Rocky, Rocky doesn't have gloves on. Rocky's getting ready to collect that evidence, and it's just almost like, he's not following any kind of protocol with collecting the evidence. He's going to open that sack. Well, you're going to see.
Here, there you go, boy. I was gonna get a tie back, so I don't know where these came from. Well, can you think of anything?
Will it be okay if I tell my family about this? And
No, you can
that's
talk
fine.
about
Okay.
It's your life, man. Look, we usually have to spend as much time anytime there's an allegation, okay? Trying to clear up the matter, one way or the
I
other.
just
Okay.
don't want my girlfriend to be involved. It's something. I try to have sex with my girlfriend. As bad as that sounds, and as bad that sounds when she's asleep, yeah.
No, you're fine. Hey, I try to call up my wife all the time. Hey, she shoots me down.
I think she's probably just imagining her just being all nervous and whatnot. Just...
Well, safe and get home, kind of explain everything.
So what goes on from now? There she is. Jesus.
Well, you're headed home, obviously, 'cause you need some pants. Why don't you go ahead and get dressed then?
So let me fast forward it to she's about to walk in. Now, do you want me to play the phone call or wait till she walks in? Well, she already walked in, right?
Yeah, she already came in. They were getting ready to come and take his badge and whatever, his cards, whatever, everything.
You want me to play that part?
That's up to you, man.
All right, let's. They walk in.
Hey Dan.
Hey, man.
Oh, it's hot in here.
Yeah, it is.
Hey, until this investigation gets all completed, what's going on, we're gonna put you on administrative leave of pay, okay?
Sure.
Just part of procedures, and they gotta do this until it gets all taken care of,
Yeah.
okay? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give you this to sign, that you're receiving it, and I'm gonna give you a copy to take home. I want you to read it very carefully when you get home, because there's some details that other people forget to read. Such as you gotta check in with me on every Tuesday morning before 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Call me at the station and just make sure I know who you are and where you're at.
Mhm.
There's some things we gotta take from you. I think there's firearms already in there.
Yes, sir.
In the deal. Do you have your shirt in here? We'll get your badge off that.
Yeah.
Is that the only badge you have?
Yes, because the other badge is upstairs because it was we got lost in their foot chase. So
Okay.
the other one's upstairs.
Upstairs where?
With Susan, chief.
Okay. So
assistant.
you haven't got a replacement yet?
I haven't yet.
You have not. Okay. Well, we need to find out about that as well. So you just have the one on the deck and whatever. Let's go ahead and get that from you. And we're gonna need your radio too. We'll just kind of check it off as we go.
So are these officers that know him?
Okay, so we got the badge and that radio there.
Do you know if these are officers that know him?
Hang on. Sorry, I was muted. I'm not familiar with who these officers are.
Right.
I would imagine one of them is a supervisor, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Entry card with you?
I did.
Okay.
And the seal missing is from the last
Yes.
foot chase thing,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
We
Okay.
have the entry card and we have the.
All right. So you mentioned something very, very important earlier about Terry Morris. So I think we need to shift focus to Terry Morris because when a story is told, you have to start at the very beginning of a story. And in your humble opinion, Terry Morris is that beginning, correct?
I think so.
So if you would like to share your screen and show us kind of Exhibit A. Actually, no, I have to play the 911 call.
Yeah.
Walk us through what I'm about to play. Walk us through the what's the story behind this call?
Okay, this is where the rape allegations from Terry Morris come from. She's been picked up. Well, Christopher Shelton, her ex-boyfriend, said he saw her walking down the side of the road and almost ran over her. And so he picked her up and he was going to give her a ride to her grandma's house. But she didn't want to go there, or they went there and she wouldn't get out. And then she wanted him to just take her to the Valero. So he did. And she was just really upset with him and really hurt because he has another girlfriend and she's not really his girlfriend anymore. But, obviously she's mentally ill and that breakup is hard on her. And you'll hear that in the 911 call.
So
But
this
you'll
interview,
also hear the rape allegations.
so that interview with Daniel, the interrogation was what date?
That was June 18th. It probably started at 4:30 p.m.
This call we're playing is what date?
This call is May 24th, probably around just before 3 a.m.
Oklahoma City 911, what's your emergency? Hello? Hello?
They talk about serve old bands and goddamn.
Hello?
I feel like a motherfucker and ripped my heart out and try to put it back inside. I feel like
Hello?
Can
you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Where are you?
I'm on 23rd and Kelly.
Okay, you at a house or are you at the intersection?
I'm at the Valero on 23rd and Kelly.
What's going on there, sir?
I see a friend of mine. She was walking down Kelly's side, falling in the street, so I gave her a ride. I was going to take her home to a grandmama's house, but she wouldn't get out, so she told me to take her on 23rd. Now, I've been trying to get her out for the last 30 minutes, and now she's saying...
Okay, are you in the Valero?
Pardon?
You at the Valero, is that right?
Yes, sir.
What kind of car are you in, sir?
I'm in a 1992 Acura Legend.
What color?
It is tan. She's tearing the inside of my car up. She's drunk.
What's your name, sir?
My name's Christopher Shelton.
Christopher Shelton.
Yeah, she's yanking stuff out of my car.
What's her name, sir?
Her name's Terry Lynn Morris.
She white, black, Hispanic, or Indian?
She's black.
How old is she?
She's tearing my car up.
I understand.
She's 43.
Okay, she's still in the car?
Well, she finally got out, man. She's throwing stuff at me.
Police.
I told you I was there. She wasn't getting up. She's hitting on me and everything.
She drunk or on drugs?
Oh, my purse.
Christopher, is she drunk or on drugs?
Yeah, there's something wrong with her. I just want somebody to come get her. I don't hit women or anything.
Me, that's what.
What color shirt and pants you wearing?
She got a black dress on.
Look like she needs
I was trying to help her, but yeah, she's throwing my darn CDs out.
Yes, sir. Look like she, or does she have any weapons?
No, she just throwing my darn car up.
Yeah. Okay.
The officer's already driving to you.
Yeah.
Look like she need an ambulance.
She just tore my stereo apart.
How you trying to help me?
They're on their way here, Terry.
Yeah, they already.
You done tore up my darn.
So you done call the people, the same motherfuckers that raped me.
There you go. You call the same motherfuckers that raped me.
Why do you think she said that?
Well, we already acknowledged, the caller acknowledged that she wasn't right. So that's kind of a prerequisite to whatever else she says, no?
I don't know. I mean, when she's talking of trying to get him to, I guess from a woman's perspective of having your heart broken and knowing that he's with another woman, she's telling him, I feel like you ripped my heart out and whatever, put it back in. I can't remember her exact words.
Mm-hmm.
But she doesn't say that.
Right.
She doesn't say you're calling the same motherfucker that done raped me until she realizes that the cops are on their way.
Let's play it back.
All right. So you can call the people, the same motherfuckers that raped me. I don't know. The police.
Could you hurry up here, sir?
Sir, I'm not driving the officer's
Yeah, when
driving,
they
okay?
do call, because let me describe the police that raped me the other night.
The other night, she says.
Mm-hmm.
The police that raped me the other night
Right.
is what she said.
Right.
Let's play it again.
Police that raped me the other night.
Let me rewind it a little bit better.
He's driving to you.
Hurry up, Park.
I don't know. The police.
Could you hurry up here, sir?
Sir, I'm not driving the officer's
Yeah, when
driving,
they
okay?
do call, because let me describe the police that raped me the other night.
Yeah, you should see them very close, very
I
soon.
should just tore my radio out.
Because a friend,
Let me know when you see the officer.
Oh, yeah, she's trying. I'm shutting the door. She's up here tearing my stuff up. I mean,
Do you see the officer?
here he is. Do I need to stay on the phone?
Did the officer find you?
Yeah, here they are.
All right, talk to them, okay?
All right. So that's the end of that call. Walk me through what the ripple effect was. Do you have the ability to share your screen now?
Okay. This is my first time. Let me
Bear
see
with
if I
her.
can
Bear with her.
do this. So what I have are a series of police reports.
All right. Here we go.
Um,
Perfect.
and let me see. So these are coming from Holtzclawtrial.com. All the episodes on the podcast have supporting documents from the case. And these notations are made by the private investigator, Brian Bates. So this one is Jonathan Thomas. He's a rookie cop who was training with Sergeant Dan Williams. And so he rolls up on the scene and okay, so really the victim in the call is Christopher Shelton, who's having his car torn up, as far as anyone knows. But that really doesn't get talked about that much. So we see that they responded to 23rd and Kelly in reference to a domestic. That's really the only time I ever hear about that. Upon my arrival, I made contact with victim Morris, who advised she was sexually assaulted. And I think it's kind of interesting to see the marks down here where they're highlighted, so you can see who the reporting officer is, who it's typed by, and then who it's approved by. Mostly these are approved by Lieutenant Timothy Musney. You don't often see reports that are filed so close to the report date, if you will. So, oh wait, okay, the scrolls, hang on.
So where in this is the initial call was the individual calling the police, which was
Christopher Shelton, but they just make reference to that they were responding to a domestic. So see supplemental report.
Right. Yep.
Here we go.
Perfect. I responded to any 23 Lane in reference to domestic call. Upon my arrival, I made contact with VI Morris and IP Shelton. I was that VI called him upset and asked him to pick her up. VI was acting very hyper and was unable to stand still. She was crying and stated that she had been raped. Due to V's behavior, I asked her if she was on any drugs. She stated that she had smoked crack a few hours prior. I asked her who had raped her, and she stated that it was a police officer. VI stated that it happened on either May 20th, 2014 or May 21st, 2014, but she couldn't remember for sure. But she stated that she was walking down the city rescue mission from a drug rehab facility that she goes to when an officer stopped her and put her in the back seat of his patrol car about 2 blocks from the city rescue. She could not remember the exact location of where the officer picked her up. She stated he ran her for warrants and then had her get out of the car and face the car. She said the officer then told her to unzip her pants. She stated that she asked the officer why, and she stated that he could take her to jail but would let her go if she sucked his dick. I asked if he ever touched her vagina or had vaginal sex, and she said no. She stated that he unzipped his pants, pulled his erect penis out. She put it in her mouth for a short time and then asked him again why he was doing this. She stated he removed his penis from her mouth and put it back in his pants. She stated that he never ejaculated. She stated that he then zipped his pants back up and told her he would give her a ride to the city rescue mission. She stated that she got back in the car and he drove her around for a few minutes and then let her out in an alley in downtown Oklahoma City. She was unable to remember the exact location of where she was dropped off. I asked her what the officer was wearing. She stated that he was wearing the uniform you are wearing. I asked her what color his shirt was, and she said that it was gray. She stated he had a badge like the Oklahoma City badge. She said she couldn't remember if he was wearing a gun belt or not. She stated that the suspect had dark-skinned white male. So she stated that the suspect was a dark-skinned white male with black hair and appeared to be about 40 years old. She said he had a muscular build and was clean shaven. When asked if she could remember a police radio going off when she was in the car, she stated that she could not remember. She stated that he was in a black and white police car with a cage in the back seat. I asked her why she waited several days to report the incident, and she said that was because she was scared. Lieutenant Holland hopefully just responded to the scene and notified sex crime detectives. So, was that a canine officer with a cage in the back seat?
No, they were just cages. I mean, the cage between the front seat and the back seat is what
Okay.
she's talking about.
So, black and white police car was what she stated.
Yeah, that's the older model police car. But in some ways, she's describing Holtzclaw, who is the last officer who stopped her on May 8th. So, if you got stopped by Daniel Holtzclaw, I'm wondering what the listeners would remember about him. I guess it's kind of hard. You can see how massive he is, but it's really pretty intimidating when you're standing beside him. But I'm 5'1", so.
So how old is Daniel?
He was 27 or 28 here, and that was what, 6 years ago?
So according to the actual police report written by the police officer, it says the suspect had a dark-skinned white male with black hair and appeared to be about 40 years old.
Well, none of that, but he is muscular build and clean shaven.
So are we 2 for 4 here, you think?
I just think she's, I don't believe her story here. I don't doubt that maybe she's been raped in the past. I think anyone that lives that kind of lifestyle is at high risk to have violence committed against them. So, no, I would never say that someone has never been raped.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that it wasn't Daniel Holtzclaw. I mean, in this report, we're going to find out that indeed his car didn't stop and let her out where she says his car wasn't there. That her story's not going to hold up. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they're going to make it work.
So this is the location. Walk us through. So this essentially is like Terry Morris on the left, correct?
I'm sorry, I'm in my... Yes, that's Terry Morris. I'm going to try to find a different picture of her because I know that there's a picture of her, and I believe that she had been to prison, and I think that it might have been when she got out of prison because she's obviously has quite a bit of more weight on. And the first time I saw the picture, I couldn't believe it was her.
Right. So walk us through what we're looking at right now with the apartments.
So this is Liberty Station Apartments, and this is on May 8th. Daniel did do a traffic stop here with another gentleman. And I guess from Terry's account, she was standing at the door of who she called Aunt Shirley's apartment, watching him interact with this other person. And then I think she said she walks away, and that's when he encounters her and calls her in.
So then he picks her up and drives her to another location, correct?
I think he does. I think
This is the alleged rape location here.
I'm getting kind of confused right now, but I'm thinking that she is the victim that he drove her to her grandma's house. Oh my gosh!
Well,
if I'm getting that
the alleged
confused
location,
right now.
Holtzclaw started to go into the field to possibly sexually assault Morris again. Defense claims Holtzclaw actually paused here to let Morris out because her grandmother lived on the cross street and Morris didn't want to be seen pulling up in a police car. So there's your answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Went from there to here. Then we go to, this is a big location right here. Below are the Oklahoma City police reports, and this is where the grandmother's house is right here.
Yeah.
And then we already went over this is the police report you already went through, correct?
So yeah, let's scroll on. And Lieutenant Michelle Holland also came onto the scene. So if we scroll back, there's a tab arrow to click left and right.
Right over here?
Scroll back to the middle of the document. See this gray spot in the middle? Scroll back up again.
Right
On
over
the
here?
right-hand side of the screen, on the right-hand side of the police report,
Okay.
there's a gray arrow that you can click to advance the pages.
Yep, is there a certain page you want?
If we can go to Michelle Holland's
Page 4?
police report.
Is
Yeah.
Or page 5?
Scroll down to the bottom and you'll see who the filing officer is.
Alright.
So
This is
back up one to Michelle's. That's Rocky Gregory.
Rocky Gregory. Is this still Rocky Gregory's?
Yes.
And then
Go to the top of it. I think you clicked on one of the middle documents, maybe. Let's see.
well, this is the takedown in her pants. She says no. She's forced away from Terry. Then asks for a female officer. She's gonna get searched. Or
Yeah, we're pretty.
yeah. So
Most
this
those
is
aren't in order right now.
well, yeah. This is page 3, 1, 2, 3. So this is page 1. MDC record check, Sergeant Joe Hill and OCP pretty much states that April 11th, 2014 at 08:46, Sergeant Jeff Sellers did a records check on Terry Morris.
Yeah. Okay. So we've skipped pretty far ahead with that one. So basically, Michelle Holland, she reports. You'll see her name at the bottom of the police report as the reporting officer.
Well, these are the arrows here, but it doesn't say. I mean, this is probably what we're looking for.
That's Rocky Gregory right now.
Right. But this does go over the alleged reports and stuff, right?
Well, let's go ahead and go over that one since you have it up. So here's what Rocky's doing, which I don't know. You said you have police officers. You have police officers in the chat today?
We had one host a show Friday night.
Oh, okay.
They are subscribed, so they may be there.
Okay.
They absolutely may be there.
So this is interesting to me. So what this is Rocky Gregory has called in Officer Jonathan Thomas, who in his report said that Terry got out of the car and said he made her turn around, and that's, the assault happened outside the car. No one else said that. So Rocky needed to edit to get that report to line up more with what Michelle Holland and Dan Williams' reports said. And so if we read through this report, this is basically Rocky rewriting Jonathan Thomas's report.
Which I just read.
And you look at, you just read Jonathan Thomas's report.
This is pretty much verbatim.
And it's really not pretty much verbatim. I think it's interesting how Rocky uses words, how he thinks someone seemed like something, or if we just read through this, is that the top of it?
Yep.
Did I lose control of scrolling?
Do you... All right, you're in charge now. I was in charge for a second, that's why.
Okay.
So you're at it now. Hold on. You're good to go.
Okay.
You're in charge now. Sorry. I'm a control freak. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. It's just, it's hard to... Okay. Let me go back here. So we went over Jonathan Thomas. That's Jonathan. So then this is Dan Williams, who was there too. He has a little brief report here. On the above date, I was riding partners with Officer Thomas, responded to a domestic at Northeast 23rd and Kelly. Upon arrival, I could see a black female running around the parking lot, screaming and crying. Made contact with the female, who is the victim. The victim said she had been raped by a police officer. I asked the victim to calm down and tell her story of what happened to Officer Thomas. I could see that the victim could not stop moving and scratching, and she appeared to be high on something. I asked the victim if she smoked crack, and she said yes, just a few hours prior. I asked the victim what happened to her, and she said she was near the mission and an officer picked her up. I asked the victim what type of police car he was driving. The victim pointed at my police car, which is a black and white. Victim said the officer ran her information and said she was clear warrants. Victim said that the officer drove victim to an alley and she was not sure where. Victim said the officer walked to the back of the car where she was sitting and made victim unbutton her pants, which is not what Jonathan Thomas said. He said she made her get out of the car to do that. Victim said the officer then made her raise up her shirt. Victim said that the officer told victim to suck his dick. Victim said she performed oral sex on the officer. Um, I ask, I think that should be her, but maybe I'm just don't know what AR means. Ask her if she had any semen in her mouth, and she said no. Victim then said after he was done, he took her near the mission. The victim said the officer was muscular and dark skinned. I asked the victim if he was wearing the same uniform as me, and she pointed and said yes. We then contacted Lieutenant Holland, who then contacted sex crimes. Lieutenant Holland advised for Officer Thomas to make a report about the incident. And so once again, this is 5/24, and he files this report on 6/5. And Lieutenant Timothy Musney, you'll see, I don't know if he was just cleaning up all the reports on 7/24, but this 7/24 is a day that he really closes out a lot of reports. So this is Michelle Holland, and she says, on 5/24/14 at approximately 3:30 hours, Sergeant Dan Williams called and advised me that he and his recruit, Officer Thomas, were on a call where the female was alleging Oklahoma City officer forced her to perform oral sex, responded to Northeast 23rd and Kelly, and made contact with Sergeant Williams and Officer Thomas. They advised me that Victim Morris told them about the incident. I could see Victim Morris pacing around the car in the parking lot and twisting on her clothes. She was crying and appeared upset. She also appeared to be high. Victim Morris already told Sergeant Williams and Officer Thomas she had smoked crack a few hours prior to their contact. Victim Morris was at Northeast 23rd and Kelly with her friend Christopher Shelton. I made contact with Victim Morris and asked her to tell me what happened. She stated she was walking to the city rescue mission when an officer stopped her, searched her, put her in his back seat, and then made her suck his penis, which is not what Officer Thomas said, who took the initial report. Victim Morris could not remember if this occurred on 5/20/14 or 5/21/14. Victim Morris had already told Sergeant Williams and Officer Thomas what happened, and they later stated her story did not change about the events when she retold me. Victim Morris did not know the officer's name. She described him as a white male with dark skin, contacted the on-call sex crime supervisor, Lieutenant Ramos, advised investigators would not be responding. So for whatever reason, they decided not to send a sex crimes person out.
So I'm going to bring up an officer. That's okay with you. He is very unfamiliar with this, which is great. This case, he's aware of everything, but he's not familiar with the deep details. So he's going to have some questions for you as well. He hosted the show. His name is Officer Harry. We'll call him, obviously. Harry, how are you?
Good, buddy. How you doing?
All right, awesome. So we have a police officer for you, Kate. So this is any opportunity you have for questions for him. Do you have any right off the bat, Kate?
So I'm kind of curious. So we have Officer Jonathan Thomas's report that, conflicts with everyone else's report on where Holtzclaw was when the act was committed. He says that she told him she was outside the car. The other people, when they interviewed her, said she was inside the car. So after all of this is said and done, let's see, on it's several days later, 3 days later, I think, Rocky Gregory calls Jonathan Thomas into his office to go over his report, and he basically rewrites the report in a way.
You cut out.
He basically rewrites the report.
Usually, what happens.
Is that common to do, like to call someone in and then your report changes the details of their report?
No, it's not common. Like I said, and unfortunately, as talking to Sancho before I came on, I don't know much about this case.
Yeah.
I've heard bits and pieces of it. Eyewitnesses are the worst witnesses ever. If an investigator has a doubt about the validity of someone's statement, they may ask for a second opinion to see what another person might get, just to be objective. It's hard to speculate why they did something, as long as they didn't redact something or change the report around altogether. I've had supervisors on some of my cases add additional notes that are germane to the case that I may have left out. And as an officer that submits the report, you don't want to go in there and submit something after you've already turned your report in, because then that looks really suspicious. Like, oh, now he's collaborating. Now he's just making shit up. Pardon my language.
No.
So, I mean, there's a million different reasons why someone else could have done a follow-up interview or secondary interview per se. What I have heard of this case and in talking to Sancho, and even before Sancho did this, was there were a lot of suspect interviews, people recanting their statements or changing their statements, misquoting their statements. But that's just what I've heard.
There were a lot of changing stories from the initial report to what they said at preliminary, to almost all of them. Their stories came around to match the GPS, the AVL, by the time they got to trial. And Terry Morris's case was one of the biggest changes, because she's confident that it was just a few days before. So that's the 20th or 21st, but they had to make it be on May 8th. And they bring her in for one interview. She signs a refusal to prosecute. They bring her in for another interview. She's still not, she just doesn't want to be involved. She doesn't want to carry on with it. And then she gets arrested. They have a CI track her down and take her into custody. And then oddly enough, they're able to get her to change her story to May 8th. And she says that she changed her story that she was lying because she didn't want Christopher Shelton to know that she had relapsed and was using drugs.
Right.
So is that odd to anyone? Because she just told all the officers at the scene in front of Christopher Shelton.
I've never been involved in a sex crime case myself. I've arrested a couple pedophiles with warrants and stuff. Sex crime victims they feel re-victimized during interviews. I'm sure you're aware of how an examination goes for a sex crime victim.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most intrusive things a rape victim could ever go through in their life.
Right. I am. I did work with the YWCA for 8 years, and I'm aware of that.
So a lot of victims, they will not prosecute. And I can't remember the exact statistic. I think it's like 80 or 90% of rapes are conducted by the person they know usually.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and that makes it even worse. That's not the situation in this case, granted, but they hear all these horror stories and then how they're going to be crucified on cross-examination by a defense attorney. So a lot of them backpedal. Then you add the narrative of someone who's addicted to drugs, narcotics, and they've relapsed, whether it's due to the situation or not, you've really diluted the water to how they can find. It's hard to find someone guilty as it is, but with everything that's been said about this case, and again, a lot of it did not make it to the jury. It's hard for me to believe that it did get that far for conviction. But on the flip side of that, we are in a situation nowadays where it's prosecute first, find guilty first, and then, oh, maybe we'll recant a couple years from now.
Right. Well, I mean, we also we're coming up on, we're going to be coming up here on Ferguson while they're investigating this case. So by August 9th, Michael Brown's going to get shot.
Right. So now you add that and the riots into it.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, now you add that and the riots into it, and you've got an officer accused of taking advantage of a vulnerable community. When I say vulnerable, I'm talking about prostitutes, drug addicts, and stuff like that. So, the last thing you want to do is make an officer out to be not guilty during all this when they can't convict a guy who can't convict an officer who just killed a guy in front of other people. So
yeah, I mean, he had to be guilty.
Yes. Yes. He was guilty in the eye of public opinion no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, people say, why didn't the other officers stand up for him? What would happen if you were an officer and he was going down and you decided to step up and, I mean, how many officers would step up and risk their career? I don't know.
Oh, I'll give you an example. There was a FHP trooper, Florida Highway Patrol trooper. She pulled over a Miami cop for doing like 130, 140 miles an hour on 95. This was recent, several years ago. I can't remember if she arrested him or she wrote him a citation for it. And the dash cam, the Miami officer was not, he was in a marked unit doing like 120 down the 95. She pulled him over and gave him a citation for it. The dash cam leaked out, and it basically ruined her career. Myself, we had this conversation last Friday, as a matter of fact, on Sancho's panel with a couple other law enforcement officers. I'm kind of old school. I've been doing this for 17 years in law enforcement, and I'm not going to jeopardize my integrity, my job, or my being, my mental stability to cover for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Would it cost me my career? Possibly. Yeah, it could. I don't know. I would do the right thing if I don't care what the political environment is. And this is a debate we've been having even with the recent shootings going on, like in the Wendy's in Atlanta, and even with the George Floyd cases. I'm not going to say someone's guilty just to say someone's guilty because that's what the public opinion says I should say.
Sure.
So, I mean, these officers, and I'll maybe back up a little bit. Also, their cars, like I said, I'm not familiar with this agency or this department. Their cars should have GPS on them. Most state and local law enforcement have GPS trackers on their vehicles for safety reasons. A lot of like our radios even have it. Like when we get in a situation where we're in an emergency, we hit a red button on our radios, and it sends out our location where we're at for backup immediately. If I can't get to my radio or I can't talk on my radio, I'm fighting or whatever. Most of these cars, like I said, they should have some type of capability to track where he was at those alleged times. And the officers have the ability to turn those things off.
Right. And he did have it off on the June 18th after hours traffic stop, where he stopped Janie Liggins on his way home. They did show at trial that he turned his computer off about the same place every time on his way home. So that was just a pattern for him. I guess it had been a problem within the department because a month or so before, emails had been sent out, but at trial it wasn't clear if he had actually seen the email or if he just thought it wasn't a big deal.
I mean, that falls upon you as the officer. I mean, because don't get me wrong, we get inundated with emails all the time. But when it comes to policy procedures, That's on you as the officer to make sure you read them or not. I didn't know that about his computers. I know I thought most agencies that I know of, they have no way to avert that. I didn't realize it was based on their computer. So there's a lot of things he did that are suspect. I'm not going to say
Oh,
there's not.
definitely. I mean, there are things he did that it doesn't look good.
Right. The one thing I always found suspect of it was I did read where they did find DNA on his zipper that they were never able to match up. That could come from anything. Could come from a handshake. Could come from flushing a toilet in a men's room. It could be a million different things. But from what I understand, there was never any physical evidence of any contact with any of the victims at all.
No, actually, the DNA, the skin cell evidence was misrepresented at trial as coming from the vaginal fluid of the 17-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
And in closing, the assistant district attorney said, that it came from the vaginal walls of the 17-year-old. It could only be there one way. How would that be on the inside of his zipper?
Right.
Um,
I wish I knew more about the case. I really do, and I don't. I'm not in a position to share my opinion one way or the other. I mean,
Well, that's why we're doing this. That's why it's a four-part series. But like the big thing from you with the law enforcement side is it's great to, we addressed a lot of things that he messed up doing last week, and we were very public on that. Facts are the facts. You can you can run with it how you want, but the way the media portrayed this, and being law enforcement, what the media, they have their slant to things, and they prevent things from being out. They prevent things from getting out. There's a directive that they want. With Michael Brown getting murdered months prior to this, we were already angry. We were already edgy. We were already on the edge. And this was just a perfect storm.
Absolutely.
In my humble opinion.
Do you recall that period of time? Like
myself?
Yeah. When you think back to that period of time, do you have a clear recollection of the racial tension and just how you were feeling about what was going on?
Absolutely. And it's nothing compared to what it is now, but it was actually kind of the catalyst to where we are now. But
yeah, well, back then felt like now.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, unfortunately, back then it was isolated, or fortunately, it was isolated to Ferguson only, in that St. Louis area only. Now it's kind of unfortunately national or nationwide. But yeah, I mean, it was a powder keg back then. And if they had not prosecuted, or if they had not found this guy guilty, it would have just exploded 10 times worse.
I think Oklahoma City would have burned just like Ferguson, and I think that's what they thought too.
Yes.
Ferguson police chief lost his job over the deal.
Right. Well, man, we've been talking about this recently on some other panels and stuff. A lot of times officers request a trial by a judge to be the only I'm drawing a blank of what it's called, a bench trial by the judge, which means the judge will enter the plea or enter this decision whether guilty or not guilty. And you don't want to think political environment would sway a judge one way or the other. But I think right now you'd be kind of foolish to believe that if you ask for a bench trial in front of a judge, that you're going to get 100% fair shake, and that he's going to rule, no matter what the evidence is, that they're going to rule on your behalf. And I'm sure that's the same thing that would have happened back then also.
We have a lot of corruption in Oklahoma. I mean, seeming more and more like Wisconsin to me, but I mean, I guess there's corruption everywhere.
I guess my question is, what do you classify as corruption? I mean, are you talking about payoffs? Are you talking about the good old boy system?
No, I'm talking about taking a victim who tells you that they were assaulted on May 20th or 21st and bullying them until they're begging you to please stop. They don't want to pursue it. But bullying them on 3 occasions, or on 2 occasions, and then because she didn't fold, they have a CI track her down and take her into custody, because what happens when someone's in jail?
They talk.
When someone's in jail, they're up for suggestion.
Right.
And so then her interview, and they don't record. They pick and choose which interviews they want to record. Maybe they recorded them all and then
No, absolutely.
discarded the ones that were too incriminating. I don't know, but you should have
Right.
to record them all, or they shouldn't be able to come in.
Oh, I agree.
I believe that.
I
But
agree.
so they get her in jail, and then Rocky starts the recording in the middle, and he's obviously walked away from her and Lieutenant Musney to like set up the he's interviewing Terry Morris at, on, I think it was on 6/24, which is now it's several days after the Janie Liggins traffic stop that happened on June 18th.
Are you going to be on the panel next week, ma'am?
Me?
She's on every week with me, the whole month.
Hello.
Yep.
Yep.
She's on every week for the next 2 more weeks.
Sancho, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Kay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
His audio messed up. Let me knock him back off, knock him back on.
Okay.
Are you back?
Can you hear me?
Yep, can you hear me? Alright, you want to hop off and hop back on, my guy? He's having some audio issues.
Is it muted?
Yeah, hop off and hop back on, Harry. Alright? Alright, let him hop off and hop back on. He'll be back, everybody. Yeah, he hosted our cop show Friday night, and it was awesome, top notch. He had no audio issues then either. Let me try to bring him back up. Harry, you good? Are you good, Harry? You're doing so well. All right.
Oh man.
That's all right. He'll be back. Let me kick him. I'm not there. All right. He good. He left himself. Good. I hate kicking people because their audio's messed up. I think it's great to get a law enforcement perspective, and
I mean, sure, because I mean, people think because I advocate for Daniel Holtzclaw that I hate cops. I mean, I hate dirty cops, and I know there are a lot of them, and I'm sick of it. But all cops are not bad, and
right.
I'm never going to believe that.
So where do you want to guide this ship next? I know you have the ability to share screen, so I want to give you a few. I want to give you a few to get that together. We did discuss something really important last week that I don't know if you want to touch upon this week. You did send me it already. It is in regards to Oklahoma City Police Officer Alex Edwards.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so this case over and over, you're going to see. Do you want me to back out of here, or?
Well, I have this photo of what you sent me.
Oh, okay.
This is Daniel Holtzclaw. The left photo was taken on or about April 12th, 2012. The right photo is from 2015.
So this is an officer who patrolled in an adjacent district to Daniel, who was...
He's clean-shaven, correct?
I think it's policy that everyone's clean-shaven, so that's just going to be... Every officer's going to fit that description.
Throw that out, okay.
Yeah. I mean, the spiky hair that they talk about with Daniel, where, you know, one of the Tabitha Barnes calls him Spike, and then Rocky Gregory latches onto that, and instead of using his name in the report, he refers to him as Spike instead all through the report.
Mm-hmm.
Which feels like for emphasis. I don't know. This officer got arrested for having sex with prostitutes and then ultimately for tipping off a group of people, prostitutes, to a human trafficking investigation that was ongoing. So he blew that up, and
How old is Mr. Roberts at the time?
Mr. Edwards, I don't know. I don't know his age. I mean, he's obviously, I'd say he's in his 40s.
Interesting you say that. I do find that interesting only because of the police report.
He fits the Sherry Ellis description.
It did state
too.
dark skin in his 40s. Do we know what color car he drove?
I don't know if he drove the older model. I think he did, actually.
Right. Which would be black and white.
I'll make a note to check that.
All right. So you want me to share this screen first? So this is the first attempt to re-interview Terry Morris, correct?
Let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is a whole document. He is documenting every step he has taken to try to locate Terry Morris from when the case lands on his desk on May 27th. So this says he calls the number, which is probably your grandma's number. It's not a good number. Called Shelton, Christopher Shelton, and left a message for Shelton to call him back. Check Varuna for the number. I mean, I think everyone can read here, unless you just want me to. Do you want me to read the whole document?
No, everything's there pretty much. You can skim through what you would like to do. Like I kind of danced through a little bit. What kind of points out to you?
What I find odd is when there are details are missing, like the time, which these all have a time, but go ahead and go to the next page, which continues this report, because he's still 527.
You're in charge of the screen.
Oh, okay.
You're still learning, I know.
Okay. Oh, wait. Okay.
I think it's the arrow. Like, you see that little right arrow and left arrow?
I had
right
to click back on that window. Okay. So, and also, again, this report gets filed quickly, and then again, it gets approved on the day that a whole bunch of reports get approved, which may or may not be a thing. So all of these have times. Now, some of these, you try to put a timeline on some of this stuff, and there's no time of when you did that. I was trying to pinpoint where Gregory and Musney physically were at a certain time. But it kind of gets kind of hard when you don't, when you come across notations and reports that don't have a reference to a time. And so I don't know if it's this way everywhere, but officers draft a report like in Word, and they can just keep adding to that report for however long they're investigating that, just add details in, so you never know when they get the new information. It just seems like they got it all at one time. And that's a little concerning for me. It's really confusing when you're trying to figure things out. But so this just goes through. I mean, he's just saying how he's looking for her. He's really working hard to find her. He finally has someone from gang who contacts Lieutenant Musney and says, "Would you like help finding her, and then they arrest her. Let's see, is this, no, then they bring her in for that 6-3 interview, based on the confidential informant tracking her down and giving Gregory a call and saying, hey, we have her, come on down here and interview her. And Rocky says, so on 6-3, when Rocky gets the call from the informant, in his report he says, and I don't even know why he brought this up, but an informant found Terry and had her in custody. Rocky stated, I had been in the county jail on an unrelated arrest when I received this call. I was then able to go speak with Terry. But she's not in custody on 6-3. I mean, I guess maybe they're calling custody just holding her in the back seat of a car while he gets there. I don't know why he put that in his report. Let's see, this is just carrying on through the attempts here to locate her. Leave that up. Went to the Valero. Sooner Haven is an apartment complex, and I think that's located over by, if I'm not mistaken, that's located near Liberty Apartments, which is a big drug area, a lot of dealing out of Liberty Apartments. Let's see. So this is carrying on with the timeline too here. 6-2, spoke with someone. This is her grandmother. Couldn't find her there. Went over to McGuire Apartments. Hadn't seen her there. Schultz Apartments. Didn't know her, but took the name. Musney and I went to Love Link Ministries and spoke with David, who helped run the thrift store and homeless ministry. He knew of her, saying she had been around, but not recently. Oklahoma Restoration Ministry. They didn't know her by showing a photo. Went to Detox, talked to, I don't know how to say that name, so I won't butcher it. Showed a picture there. They didn't know her. Went a lot of places that offer services, I guess, looking for her. No time, a lot of these, some of these that don't have times, I don't know if they really did these things, or if they didn't do these things and that's why they didn't document what time it was. Let's see. 6-3 down at the bottom here at 10:35 hours. Went to the day shelter to show the picture. The front office lady, including Sunrise, knew Terry, but she had not been there. I showed the most recent picture we had of Terry, and Sunrise advised Terry has a shaved head and she knows her. She advised she went to prison. Terry looked better in prison, but now she is drawn down, which is true. That picture I saw somewhere, she looked really good. Sunrisa said last Thursday she had seen her at Pastor Glenn's house off of Main Street. Around the corner, she tried to give us directions. It's a pantry and ministry for the homeless on Thursdays. She checked the day shelter records, and Terry hadn't been there for some time. They went to 1400 block in Northwest 2nd. After speaking to various people in the neighborhood, they confirmed that this was the address for Pastor Glenn's ministry. I went to the door, but no one was home. Musney went that afternoon, and no one was home. While working gang overtime, I went at 17:15 hours to this resident. Again, no one was home. I was contacted by Cal, the informant of Detective Harper. He said he had found her at 26th and Kelly off Urban Meyer. He made an anonymous call to police, and the police had her in custody. This is where Rocky says, I had been in the county jail on an unrelated arrest when I received this call. I was then able to go speak with Terry. It's my understanding she wasn't at the county jail. So I'm not sure why he said that. So this is a report by Rocky on the 27th. This is his phone interview with Christopher Shelton, her
Who's the boyfriend?
Yeah,
Ex-boyfriend?
ex-boyfriend, yeah.
Okay.
Who said he picked her up because he saw her walking on the side of the road. He didn't say anything about her telling him that she had been raped. In the 911 call you heard, he didn't seem like he even believed her when she was saying that while the police were rolling up. So here we are on the 27th. I introduced myself and explained what I wanted to speak with him about. Chris did not know where Terry was or how to get a hold of her. Chris stated that he has known Terry since 2000. She has no mental issues that he knows of. I find that hard to believe. Chris then said she did take some pills during a suicidal time period. Other than that, he didn't know much about her mental condition. He stated she does drink alcohol, however. Terry and Chris used to date for about a month, 2 months ago. She did live with Chris for a period of time. Chris is currently in a different relationship, whom he wouldn't state the name, and it was found out to be Tina so-and-so. Chris stated that on 5/24 at around 300 hours in the morning, he was driving southbound on North Kelly from Northeast 36th Street. He saw Terry walking and he almost hit her. He pulled up by her and told her to get in. He would take her to her grandma's house. She was very drunk. She didn't seem very drunk to me in that 911 thing. She seemed more high, but she wasn't slurring her speech.
She was destroying his car, correct?
She was destroying his car. Yeah, I mean, in a jealous rage. Terry began to talk drunk to him, and she began to mention she was raped by the police. At the same time, she was going on how he was with another woman and how she tried to call him about the rape. Terry began to cuss at him. Chris told her to be quiet. He didn't want to hear about it. He didn't want to hear it about anything. He took her to her grandma's nearby, but she wouldn't get out of the vehicle. Terry told him to just take her to the Bolaro at Northeast 23rd and Kelly. Once there, she still wouldn't get out of the pickup. It's not a pickup anyway, but it was an Acura, I guess. She was talking about going to rehab at the Jesus House. She was still talking about the rape and everything else. Terry wouldn't get out and began to rip his CD cover off and the CD player. Terry began to hit him. So he just had the police called. The police came and Terry calmed down. She began to tell the officers about the officer involved rape. This was what Terry tried to tell him, but he told her he didn't want to hear it. Chris did get to hear some of the report, and Terry seemed to be fine in telling the rape story. Terry told them she was, I think he needs to say scared, to tell them. I asked Chris to go into detail on everything he remembered of what she said about the rape. Chris seemed to have a hard time with detail in general. Terry said it happened last Tuesday or Wednesday, which that would have been the 20th and 21st, checking back on that. She was walking, but it wasn't known where. The officer stopped her. At one point, he gets out of the car and opens the back door to her. He puts his hand between her legs. At one point, he pulls his penis out of his pants and tells her to suck his penis. Terry did as she was told and performed oral sex on the officer. He did not ejaculate. Once again, this is not the story that Officer Jonathan Thomas wrote in his report. She was not in the car when she was performing oral sex.
So when was the interview we played last week? Which I'm gonna play a minute of, if that.
6-3. That was the first. Well, I mean, they interviewed her at the scene that night, but they're calling the first interview that interview where Rocky had her tracked down, had a CI track her down, and then he tells her that she has to come downtown if she wants to sign a refusal to prosecute, which is bullshit. But she comes downtown to sign it, and then he proceeds to interrogate her. So that was 6/3/14. Let's see. The officer then stopped, closed the door on her, and drove her around. He just dropped her off, which they couldn't. I mean, he was going 25 miles an hour on the 8th when he went by where she said. It just, Rocky finally admitted, well, she lied about that part. She couldn't say where she was dropped off at. She did say in a general area, but this was all that Chris could recall of what she said. Chris only knew it was supposed to be an Oklahoma City officer. It was understood. No detail of the officer known, no detail known of where it happened. Chris didn't recall much about what she told the officers. Each specific question I asked of Chris about the conversation or detail, he said he either didn't recall or he didn't know. No detail known before on what she was trying to tell him either. I mean, I don't even know what that means. It's like he didn't have any details of when she was trying to talk about the rape, I guess. Chris couldn't tell me anything about the officer who did this to her. Chris couldn't tell me much about the incident in general. Terry then went her way. A few hours later, Chris was at his girlfriend's house. He wouldn't say where. According to 911 records, with the calling party as Tina, whoever, Chris said his girlfriend got him up and said Terry was outside banging on the windows. The police came and spoke with her. He didn't know much about that incident either. So I guess Lieutenant Michelle Holland ended up responding to this second 911 call involving Terry Morris within, 3 hours? The Volaro was 3 o'clock, and now here we are at like 5 something. Let's see. I stayed in contact with Chris to see if he heard anything out of Terry. He didn't know where she was, but thought maybe the Jesus House. He knew nothing about her involvement with the city rescue mission. And then here's back to this report that we were kind of stuck on earlier before I had control of the screen. This is Rocky interviewing Jonathan Thomas to try to get him to change his story, where she's going to be sitting in the seat of the patrol car instead of stepping out of the patrol car, turning around, and then being asked to perform oral sex. So, do you want me to read through this?
I mean, we already read it already.
I have a document that one of the team members put together, just comparing this report to Jonathan Thomas's original report, and I sent that to him in Discord because I wasn't confident I was going to be able to share my screen and learn how to do this.
All right, let me look for that.
Document?
Let me look for that now.
I think it says JT versus RG Terry Morris.
Let me look for that now.
Let me just forget what the color code is. Some of these in
911 recordings is what you sent me. That is it. As far as stuff like that. Audio recording, 911 recording. If someone wants to DM it to me or post it in the link, that'd be great.
Hey, Rhonda, can you post that in the link so we can grab that?
I'm going all the way up, and I don't see it.
Okay. All right. I apologize.
Week 1 pages, there was that, but if Rhonda wants to DM me on Discord, even whatever's easier.
Okay. Let's see.
Whatever's easier.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm sure she'll drop that into the highlighted things. I should have done a screenshot of, I'll just leave this up so people can check it out.
And now you mentioned earlier when you saw the interview, how he took his pants off was an important part. Now reading this, why are those two things important?
Well, I mean, Terry alleges that he just pulled his penis out. Just, many of the women accused him of just whipping his erect penis out through the unzipped fly of his pants. That was a reoccurring thing. And it's hard to imagine how you would do that when you look at the gear that we shared. The picture of all the gear that he had on, because he wears compression shorts with no fly, and then he had on a tank top, which is no big deal, but then a bulletproof vest, and then his uniform shirt, and then he did use the shirt stays, which if people aren't familiar, they attach to the bottom of your shirt and the top of your socks, and they just help keep your shirt pulled taut. So I really don't know how long it would take to get your penis out, but then if your penis is erect, it's going to even be harder to get out. It's not going to happen like that. It doesn't make sense.
Waiting on that link. Don't think we have that. So what I want to do is play now. Walk us through this police report. And I know I asked it earlier. What was the time frame between this police report to this interview?
Let's see. This is. It says it was reported on 6/17. Let me go back to the beginning. It should say. Okay, so this is 6/2. So this is the day before. So he's interviewing Jonathan Thomas the day before he ends up talking to Terry for her first interview, which you have the video of.
I want to play about 2, 3, and then we're going to wrap up because you've been more than grateful with your time tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't even. Wouldn't really.
If you walked out the front doors on California, which way would I put?
Okay, but listen, this is so difficult. I don't know because I was coming back. I don't know. I was coming back from the east side, taking care of my business. I don't know because, yeah, I don't know. I don't know my directions. Like, I just don't know. I don't even. Wasn't really sure. Not far from the City Rescue Mission. He said that.
He said that?
Yeah, we wasn't up for. He's gonna. I don't know.
I have it. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, Discord.
Well,
Yeah, play this through until she signs. Does this go all the way till she signs it?
Yep.
But you gotta put it like an actual reason.
Oh, this is okay. This isn't what I thought it was.
Whatever your reasons are, you know.
Are you able to share that screen? Mine's loading slow. My Microsoft Word's loading slow. All right. Are you able to share that instead?
Do I just click on that?
Yep. Pretty much do the share screen. Well, do the stop screen and then stop screen, then share screen, and then choose the tab.
I don't see the. I don't have the document.
Is there anything I can say?
Are you talking about the document that Rhonda sent?
Yes. Are you able to load that up?
I don't. I can't.
It's in the Discord.
Okay.
Don't make me explain to you why I can't do that.
Oh.
I document that for the world.
All right.
Well, I've been drinking a beer.
All right. So this is her signing it. I'm not having the best computer night myself right now, so my apologies.
Well, I'll have to. I need some practice loading documents in here. You know, I'm kind of technically challenged.
Right.
To say the least.
I'd just rather not right now.
Where are you? Where are you going in California? Oh, you see a counselor?
Oh, I don't know. My stays up there in San Francisco.
Where are you gonna go tonight?
Going back to my uncle's house.
Where's your uncle?
Where you seen us? Oh, you didn't see us. Where they had us. Had me in a car at.
Does he got an address or anything?
This Northeast 23rd, 24th. I don't know. I never he just not he ain't been standing alone.
Okay. Let me go find the officer. Okay. Give me a little bit of time, okay? And I promise you a ride back. You know, I wish you would talk with me. Yeah. I'm still gonna give you my phone number because I hope you do. Because I don't want this guy on my police department.
Me, I don't want him near me.
I don't want this guy to touch my daughters, your daughters.
I don't want him near me at all.
Hang on, okay?
My body. Oh, hungry.
So that's the first recorded interview of Terry Morris.
Right.
I think. Let me make sure. I gotta make sure I'm not doxing myself, to be completely blunt with you. So I have to make sure that this screen is good to go, which it looks like it is. Actually, now it's in. Yeah. All right, we're gonna abandon that option because my computer's loading pretty slow on this. Actually, let me screenshot it and then do it that way. That might be the most effective way, because whenever I have multiple things open at once, my computer starts going wonky. And the last time, like, my guest became my host for like 2 minutes. So I'm trying to go out of my way to avoid that as much as possible. So yeah, so let me...
Well, I won't even know what to do with that, so you're safe.
Right. Let me show the picture now of the timeline. Then we're gonna wrap up and give a little preview of next week if you have anything that's on the agenda so far, or if you want to have a discussion behind the scenes. But if there's something on your agenda for episode 3,
Well, I have asked Erica Fuchs to come on and talk about the DNA, but she hasn't. I know she's buried in trying to get ready for the civil trial. But I'm still hopeful that she's gonna do that. We could start next week with the recording of what I was talking about of Terry Morris changing her story in the jail, and then take off from there.
Okay.
And just go through several in sequence.
So here we go. So this is the JT versus RG Terry Morris police report.
Jonathan Taylor wrote that the assault occurred either 5/20, 5/21. Rocky Gregory changed the wording to 5 or 6 days ago, and on a Tuesday or Wednesday. Thomas said perp was a dark-skinned white male. Gregory said the perp was a white male, and then further down in the description listed that he was darker skinned. Just taking liberty with not using the quoted words and changing the words around, but then still putting them in quotes in his report. JT said she stated the car was black and white with a cage. Gregory stated that it was like JT's car, 2010 Crown Vic. Gregory doesn't list the color. That's not so concerning to me, actually, because I'm from Oklahoma and I know that that's one and the same. Those 2010 Crown Vics were the black and white cars. Gregory stated at the beginning of his interview that JT said she was disheveled and possibly on drugs. Then further down, after saying he asked JT for more detail, Gregory stated that JT said she was sober because she had just come from rehab, JT usually said in his report that she stated that she had smoked crack a few hours prior. Sorry, I'm having a hard time because my vision is crappy and my eyes are old and these words are little. JT stated that the perp had her face the car and unzip her pants. JT said that, and this is, I think, the main reason why Gregory needed to call him in and question him about his report, because he was the initial report taker, and what he's saying is not. There's a changing story, and they keep saying that the story was consistent and didn't change, when in fact it did change.
So I'll grab a number 6 if you're done with number 5.
Okay. You want to go ahead and read the number 5 completely?
JT stated that the perp had her face the car and unzip her pants. JT said that he then said she asked why she had to unzip her pants, and the perp said, because I could take you to jail, but I won't if you suck my dick. JT then said he took out his penis and put it in her mouth. RG said JT didn't know which way the perp had her face, toward the car or the other way. RG said the perp turned her around and had her sit down in the back seat before putting the penis in her mouth. It's good to break down what both are saying and compare and contrast.
Yeah, I mean, JT's saying she got out of the car, turned around, and sucked his dick on the outside of the car. Gregory, or actually Michelle Holland's report,
right,
says that she was in the car. Gregory wasn't there, so, that's him changing Jonathan Taylor's story and writing a report about it. Just doesn't make any sense to me. Right. He wasn't there.
Right. And this was the spark, essentially, that started everything, is what I want to go back and, show to everybody.
I mean, although they hadn't called Daniel Holtzclaw in to ask him about this, they had asked the communications guy, or whatever that guy's title is, to look back a month, even though on the 27th of May, I think they told him to look back a month, even though she said it was 20 or 21. So they go back farther than a month, because they ended up pulling out Jeffrey Sellers from April 14th and then Daniel Holtzclaw from May 8th. And for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe because Daniel did come into contact with a lot of people. He really was a gung-ho officer. Maybe because of that, it was easier to frame him up for this, because they had more opportunities. We'll talk about as much as we know about the women who couldn't get their story straight enough, or officers didn't have anything to work with. If the women didn't have a stop with Holtzclaw that was documented, that they could use that GPS to reverse engineer the case, then those people didn't become a part of the case. Shanice Barksdale, who admitted that she lied, and she's the only one who was found to be lying and had charges filed against her and got a slap on the wrist. The GPS wasn't with her. There wasn't GPS they could work with, so they didn't want to mess with that.
So, number 6, JT did not mention whether the perp wore a gun belt. RG said JT didn't know whether the perp had a gun belt on or not.
Yeah, and I don't know why Rocky Gregory I don't know why he was asking him about things that weren't in the report, because I guess at that point he would have to just try to recall those things from memory and make a guess because the whole point of this is to edit the report. Is that what he was trying to have him do? I don't know.
Number 7, RG said, JT said, she told her story in a very consistent manner. JT said nothing about whether she was consistent or not. Is that a little cherry picking a little bit? No, you think?
But what do you mean?
For RG said, JT said she told her story in a very consistent manner. JT, on the other hand, pretty much didn't mention if it was consistent or not.
Right. Everyone else said it was consistent, but JT didn't even mention that in his report or a gun belt. So yeah, now he's trying to get more details to put in. So yeah, I mean, it's weird to me.
Number 8, RG said Terry said she was a prostitute, but JT wrote nothing about that in his report. That is a very good. That is a. How important was it, in your opinion, for them to notate her line of profession?
Well, I mean, I think it would speak to her, the risk of her being raped, the possibility of it, being out there. Yeah.
Number 9, RG said JT stated that she wanted he female officer to search her when the perp told her to take down her pants. JT said nothing about Terry asking for a female officer or about the perp telling her to take her pants down.
Yeah. I mean, he and Dan Williams were the first on the scene. I think Michelle Holland showed up 30 minutes later. So Jonathan Thomas was the one writing the report. He would know what was going on, you would think.
So number 10, RG said Terry stated that the perp felt her breast a little. JT's report said nothing about the perp grabbing her breast.
Yeah, that ends up being a reoccurring theme with the women. There's a lot of Holtzclaw, grabbed my breast, whether it's on the inside of my shirt or the outside of my shirt. And I don't know, I feel like Jonathan Thomas wouldn't know anything about that because here we are with Terry Morris at the very beginning. But by the time, when is this? 6? What'd I say? 6? Oh, I'm sorry. Bear with me 1 second. I'm trying to see when Rocky called him in.
But that is, these are 10 very interesting points brought up.
I don't have that date, but it looks like it's sometime between the 27th and the 2nd. I probably said that. Oh, something about, let's see. Something about we were talking about the $20 bill. Do you mind if I touch on something from last
Sure. Then we'll wrap up, absolutely.
Someone asked about the $20 bill test, and that was done with Tabitha Barnes, and while she's telling her story to Gregory about the $20 test, she says, yeah, he asked me, did you have my 20? And I said, well, I had 22. I had it in my bra. But she just got finished saying that she didn't have a bra on. So that was one thing I didn't mention with her and the $20 test. And I think I'll have to look up who else the $20 test was done with, but Tabitha Barnes was one.
And her plea, this is Tabitha. No, that's not Tabitha. Trying to find Tabitha from my list, but they're very small buttons. There you go, Tabitha Barnes. So this is Tabitha Barnes, and these are all the counts that were levied against Daniel. Sexual battery, guilty, 8 years. Procuring lewd exhibited, guilty, 8 years. Procuring lewd exhibition, guilty, 5 years. Burglary, first degree, not guilty. Stalking, not guilty as well.
Yeah, she got really wild in her storytelling. At the end, I think, the stalking charges, it just maybe wasn't believable to the jury. I don't know. Maybe that's part of where they said, one of the jurors said, didn't know how they came down with half guilty, half not guilty. I guess they split the baby, which I had never heard of before. But I guess that means when you can't, I guess when the jury is tired of figuring it out, they just half for, half against. I don't know. Is anyone in the chat familiar with the term split the baby? Is that a common thing?
I've never heard of it before, but that's not surprising with me.
And so now the list is going to get created, and that's something we can talk about next week. Is so we're coming up on Janie Liggins traffic stop. We already have everything that's happened with Tabitha Barnes. And it happens to be Daniel Holtzclaw who pulls her over in that after-hour traffic stop. That doesn't look good. And so now maybe Kim Davis did think, oh, he's just guilty because,
So what does it mean to split the baby? The term to split the baby is an idiomatic expression for what seems like an unreasonable decision, but is actually a ploy to flush out the truth. It is a psychological game based on people's reactions to his announcement. The decision maker will be able to gather the right information if it is particularly effective when the existing data is confusing or even outright conflicting. There you go.
So if you can't figure it out, you split the baby.
Essentially. That's essentially what they were trying to get to.
So now we're going to have a victim profile based on Tabitha Barnes instead of based on Janie Liggins. And although in the interview with Daniel, when they said, the MO's the same, it's all matching up, everything she's saying is matching up to everything that Janie Liggins was saying. When that doesn't end up being true, and if they had done a victim profile on Janie Liggins, they wouldn't have been able to bring all these other women on board into the case. It wouldn't have worked out. So they did the victim profile based on Terry Morris. And
so let's kind of wrap up. What's kind of the message for this episode that you really want to get out there? Wrap it up in about like a minute or two as far as what we touched upon and why those things are important, why those facts are important in this case.
Well, I mean, obviously, the 911 call with her saying that, she's been raped, it doesn't look good for Holtzclaw, but I just think if people are able to look at that call and listen to her, what she's saying, if you can feel her emotion, if you've ever been in that situation where your heart is broken and you just want that person. I don't know if she said it to get attention from him or if she said it to get out of trouble because the police were on the way, but it did have the second effect. I mean, she did get out of trouble. He was the victim and she ended up being the victim. She should have been going to jail, but she didn't. And then, then her actions thereafter of not wanting to pursue it and just, not wanting to be a part of it. Although I understand that victims are that way. They don't want to be involved sometimes. That's not what I get from her. I think she didn't want to have that lie on her back. And she does now.
All right. Episode 3, next Monday night, 6 p.m. Kate, I want to thank you again for being here. Great job co-captaining this tonight.
Oh my gosh, what a train wreck.
No, you did awesome. I think everybody should throw some hearts in the chat for Kate because she did awesome co-captaining this whole situation. No, my two beagles. This is the second time you've ever been on like a YouTube show like this, right?
It's my third. I actually did another one right after last Tuesday night. So
look at you.
Yeah, I'm rolling now.
See, so you've had 2 appearances with me and one somewhere else, correct?
Right, and I'm sweating.
Look at you. Listen, you're going to get more media appearances this week after this. This is going to be... I hope I can get you back for episode 3 with how busy you're getting with all these other media appearances.
Okay, you're so funny. Thanks so much for having me on.
Please follow the Discord. Rhonda is plugging the Discord where you can say hello to Kate personally and thank her on Discord. And ask any questions. There's a great team over there at Discord that are willing to answer questions. We're really well aware that this is a very touchy subject, and we're very well aware that there's a lot of feelings and emotions that are still raw a part of this. And the one thing that we ask with everybody is to just please be respectful and have an open mind. That's all we're asking. We're not forcing you to think of a way. We're not asking you to feel a certain way. We're simply asking you to be respectful and have an open mind. We have 2 episodes to go. We're halfway through. We are at the halfway mark, episode 3, next Monday night, 6 p.m., followed by the next one. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I will come back in about, 10 p.m., probably 11 p.m., because 11 p.m. we had a big audience last night. So 11 p.m. Eastern, we're going to do the after show. Anybody want to hop on and hang out and give me your opinion on what you've seen today and last week, and your general opinion on the Holtzclaw case? I mean, there's multiple websites you can go, including the Discord, to learn about it. Holtzclawtrial.com is one of them. Brian Bates has done a fantastic job. A lot of people have done a fantastic job. I am not reinventing the wheel. I am going out of our way to give the facts laid out and let you as an audience decide how you want to feel and everything like that. Flat out. So want to thank everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next Monday night.